Welcome to the 1000 Comics Podcast. Holy Lord, we got a show for you today. Oh my goodness. My guest today is going to be in a documentary on Netflix coming out called The Underdogs. It's going to be a documentary about pro indie wrestlers up in Jersey. And my guest is pretty unique, being a pro wrestler and a stand-up comedian. So I hope you're interested in seeing something like that. That's going to be out on Netflix soon. His name, Mike Mazza, also known by his wrestling name, Mike Pacifica. Interesting guy. We had a good time after we finished recording the podcast yesterday. We both did a show at this great place to see a show. By the way, over in Del Rey at the Smoke Inn. It's a room run by Jay Guy and Randy Vega. Real great crowd. If you haven't been out to the Smoke Inn in Del Rey, please go to a show when indeed that Jay Guy and Randy Vega put one on. Mike, I finally got to see Mike Mazza perform. When I first met him, I was working the door, so I couldn't get a chance to see him perform. He's a real funny guy. He's good. You guys gotta get out there and see Mike Mazza up in Jersey. Is where he resides, but I think he's gonna be he's gonna be all over. This guy's, as you'll find out in the podcast, going to be in some interesting things. I gotta say that he caught my interest. Not only the fact that he's a stand-up comedian and a wrestler, he was also Vader slammed. He was in a wrestling match with the Vader. I don't know if you remember him, but I have to say he died a couple months back, and this episode is dedicated to the pro wrestler Big Van Vader. Not only was he in an episode of Boy Meets World, but he came into the pawn shop that I used to work at one time, and he met the guys that worked at the pawn shop. I remember my buddy Alex was all excited to take a picture with him, and he was like, "Let's make this quick. Gotta get something to eat." Dude was a giant, man. His hands were shaking his hand. It was like a ham with fingers. You know what I mean? Big Van Vader. That guy was something else. So you are going to really enjoy me talking comedy and talking pro wrestling today with Mike Mazza. Now, when it comes to sponsors, I thought I'd let you guys know that the 1000 Comics Podcast is looking for sponsors. If you'd like to sponsor the show, send an email to matthewheath.saga@gmail.com. That's Matthew Heath, SAGA @gmail.com. Until then, I'll be pretty much sponsoring myself. I got 3 plays available on Amazon.com. I got Ms. Scrooge. I got Renaissance Men. And on sale right now is Pawnbrokers. Interestingly enough, it's based on the same place where I met Big Van Vader. All right, so without further ado, also if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, please subscribe. But without further ado, this is my interview with Mike Mazza. All right, welcome to the 1000 Comics Podcast. I'm real excited to bring to you my guest, Mike Mazza.
What's going on?
How you doing, Mike?
Pretty good.
Glad to have you here. You came all the way down from Jersey to be here in Florida.
I did.
How you liking it down here in Florida?
I love it. I want to move here.
You want to move here?
Yeah.
Where in Florida do you think you want to move?
Depends. Probably Tampa. I've been there before. I liked it. I have a place in West Palm, so I like that too.
It's not mainly because you like the comedy scene down here, is it?
Well, I checked it out last night. That was the only one I checked out, but I liked it. I definitely stay down here for that.
All right, so let's get right into it because you're a pro wrestler and you're a comedian.
I am.
This fascinates me. So let's talk about comedy first. How'd you get into the world of comedy? What made you start?
About a year ago, I decided it was time to take a break from pro wrestling. I've been doing it about 11 years. I'm 32. I figured I want to walk when I'm 40. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty funny. I'll check out comedy. Right, because the pro wrestling was putting a wear on your body. Yeah.
And you thought, stand-up comedy, it'll just be psychologically damaging to me, but it won't. I could give my body a rest.
Yeah. I'm actually feeling more now not doing it than when I did it.
Now, you came to the open mic last night. We met. I was working the door, and you came in, and we got to talking. I didn't get to see your set, unfortunately, but I heard from the other comics that it was really funny. Mm-hmm. So I used their word to vouch that you were funny enough to be on this show. But the one other thing that intrigued me when we were talking last night was about Vader.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna dedicate your episode of 1,000 Comics podcast to Vader because you told me he died. Was it a week ago?
A couple weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago. That is amazing. That he. You know what? He is someone else who had his foot both in the world of comedy and pro wrestling. You remember he was on that episode of or he was maybe on a couple episodes of Boy Meets World.
Wow, I never really watched it, but
yeah, there's a character on Boy Meets World that he was Van Vader played his father, and it was almost like a Flintstone-ish type episode where the character Corey is like going back and forth to a pro wrestling match to his high school prom because he wants to see both.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so you showed me a video on your phone of Vader doing the Vader the Vader slam.
Yeah,
and that blew me away because how do you prepare your body for something like that?
First, it blew me away just doing that.
Right.
Like when the promoter told me I was working with Vader, I was like, wow, like I grew up watching this guy.
Right.
And I didn't really prepare my body. Like I was kind of just ready for it.
Right.
Because I play a heel, I'm a bad guy.
Yeah.
And
so heel is your pro wrestling name?
No, I'm a heel, like meaning like my wrestling.
Oh, you are a heel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
what is it? Guy. Do you have another name that you go by when
Mike Pacifica.
Mikey Pacifica. Okay. Yeah. So your comedy name is your real name, right? Which is Mike Mazza.
Yep.
And okay, so when you're Mike Pacifica, mm-hmm. do you do anything to get into character? Like,
well, I had a gimmick. It was called the dad bod because I have this gut right here.
Right.
So everyone sees a pro wrestler, they're like, "Oh, you're supposed to be jacked."
Right.
You know. So since I was a bad guy, I was like, say I was working you in the ring.
Right.
And you had like a six pack, you're jacked.
Which I don't. I think we have to make it clear to the listeners that I have more of a dad bod than you do.
You could be in my fan club then. So I would get in the ring, I'd do a promo. I'd be like, you know what? You think you're all cool because you got a six-pack.
Right.
Well, what you and the boys in the back don't know is that whole jack look, the whole six-pack, it's out. The dad bod is what's in, and I would do a belly roll with my stomach.
Almost like the truffle shuffle.
Exactly. Like that. And the fans ate it up. They loved it. So I stuck with that, and that's what I would. That was my gimmick. I would actually sell T-shirts with my stomach on it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, people would actually wear them. I was shocked.
I'm thinking about getting in the t-shirt game. It probably won't have a stomach on it. I think that people don't want shirts. People might want shirts with your stomach on it. They don't want shirts with my stomach on it. They're like, oh my god, is that a sweater?
it shocked me because like people would actually wear them. I saw one person out one time in my area with it, and I was like, oh, like that's me, right? And they're like, no way, like that's so cool. But like, why would you wear that shirt out? It has a stomach right in the middle of it.
Right.
It's nothing like I would wear out. Usually just to a show.
I'd probably wear one of those shirts to the beach just to be ironic.
Yeah, that would actually be cool.
It
would look good there, I think.
Yeah. So what was it like working with Vader?
It was awesome.
It was just like it was just awesome. What other of the guys that of the guys that I would know, do you think you would have wrestled?
Well, I worked. Let's see, a few years ago. What's his name? Valentine.
Right, Valentine. I don't know Valentine.
Him. I've worked with Iron Sheik.
Okay, I've definitely heard the name.
I worked with Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Okay, heard the name.
I've worked with who else? Adam Rose.
Okay,
he was in WWE a couple years ago. He just got released, like I just said, a couple years ago. I've done shows with Vizera.
Okay.
All these guys I've done shows with.
Do you can list them off? I probably won't. Because I told you last night I haven't watched wrestling since I was like 7, 8 years old, and that was my time. I like Triple H, Mankind.
So Billy Gunn.
Yes,
I've done tons of shows with him.
Okay,
I've done shows with X-Pac.
X-Pac, yes.
I've done shows with him.
I think my brother was more of an X-Pac guy than I was, but
he's cool, dude. I've done shows with Gangrel, the vampire guy. He was cool. The Patriot.
Okay.
He's Hulk Hogan days.
All right, so we don't have to spend the whole podcast just listing. The fact that you have to get into this like bad guy character, right? Well, like, what does it do? Would you do anything to prepare for that character?
No, just be an ass to people.
Just be an ass. You don't have to do much.
No. That's why I love it.
It's not that far from yourself.
That's it. You just make fun of people, get them to hate you. It's easy.
Is that in a sense why you wanted to be a comedian? You were sick of getting people to, like, I'm sick of getting all these people to hate me. I want them to get them to like me, get them to laugh.
I guess.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking about too before you came over was that the world of.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Mute that.
In the world of pro wrestling, you're gonna have a lot of kids looking up to you. But in the beginning stages of stand-up comedy, it's all adults. It's an adult world, really.
Yeah, it is.
Because there's a lot more. Even though pro wrestling is violent, on the other hand, stand-up comedy, there's vulgarity with the language that you never see, like kids at an open mic or a beginning comedy show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's totally different. At the wrestling shows, we were always told to keep it PG, no cursing, nothing like that, no bleeding. We'd have to. Only if the promoter said we could bleed, we could bleed.
Really?
Yeah.
So how do you? If the promoter said you could bleed, you could bleed. Like, how do you make it a bloody show? I don't know. Like, how do you know? Like, how do you know you can make somebody bleed? How are you gonna make somebody bleed? I don't understand.
Well, there's one way, which is, the razor blade to the head. That's kind of the big secret right there.
Oh, are you giving away wrestling secrets that you're not supposed to on the podcast?
Basically, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like a little razor blade. We keep it in our wrist tape. We get hit and just a little cut to the head.
Really?
Yeah. Or there's the hard way, which you actually take a hard hit and it busts you open.
Okay. Has anyone ever accidentally really fucked themselves up with a razor blade? Like, I'm sure you could probably get some permanent scars from.
Oh, I know tons of people.
Wow. It's amazing. It's amazing that it's like it's more about choreography and getting into character. It is in a sense a lot more like a stage play.
It is
than it is a sport. But at the same time, you guys have to be so physically. It's one of the most physically enduring things you could do. So it's a combination of a stage play and a sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Did you think comics can be meaner than wrestlers? Have you had that experience
I have not had that experience yet.
Especially being from Jersey.
Like last night, I was a little nervous. I said to my girlfriend, I'm like, I don't know what they booming. Like, I don't know how the crowd is here. Like, or the comics. Like, I don't know what their reactions are like. How different it is from Jersey, you know? So I was a little nervous about that.
I think people can be a lot nicer in Florida than they are in,
they were
Jersey.
awesome.
Just because the weather's nice, people are just a little more laid back here. But I think comics can be meaner. They're probably meaner than pro wrestlers just on social media. I think you're gonna find that out.
Yeah, so well, yeah.
There's a lot. So you've been doing stand up comedy for a year. Where was the first time you performed?
It was called Anchor's Bend. That's where I usually go every Wednesday.
Anchor's Bend.
Yeah, it's in Asbury Park.
Asbury Park. And you told me that's where they filmed The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke.
Yeah. Basically all filmed in Asbury.
Is there a lot of wrestlers in Asbury Park? Is it a big wrestler community?
Yeah, there's a convention hall. They used to have ECW shows there. They had TNA shows there.
Okay.
A lot of wrestling.
I'm sure that's got to be a great place to be a kid. You get to see like all these adults that are run around in tights and beat each other up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fun.
When you were a kid, you grew up with wrestling, right?
I did. Yeah, I really didn't watch it that much when I was a kid. My cousins got me into it.
Really?
Like I actually.
So about how old were you when your cousins got you into it?
Probably 13.
Okay.
And I hated it. Like my uncle showed it to me. And he was like, "Oh, watch this." He's like, "Oh, this is real. What they're doing is real." And I was like, I'm like, that crap's fake. Nope.
Right.
It's stupid. And then I went to my cousin's house the next weekend. There was a pay-per-view on.
And that's what hooks you in, those pay-per-view shows, because they are awesome.
My cousin and I and his friends, we started wrestling on the couch, like just throwing each other around. I'm like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
And then I just got into like the backyard wrestling with friends growing up. And I was like, oh, I want to do this. This would be pretty cool.
Okay.
And then I kind of got lucky with it. When I graduated high school, I went to a show and I talked to the promoter, and he's like, "Hey, well, you know what? Do security, help set up the ring, we'll train you for free."
Okay.
So that's how I got my training and got into it.
Okay, that's interesting, because I always wonder like how pro wrestlers get into it, because it's like, how do you go from like what I see in like high school wrestling to pro wrestling? Because there's two completely
one's real,
different things.
Not like it's not fake. I mean, the moves are real. You could get hurt, but
it's all about entertaining people.
Yeah, there's a whole story to it. That's like the big part of the match. You want to tell a story,
right? I lost my. There was something else I wanted to ask you about that. But okay, who is your hero when you were a kid that age? Did you have a hero in pro wrestling?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Steve Austin was definitely up there for. I actually went as Stone Cold Steve Austin for Halloween when I was about 7 years old.
That's
right?
Awesome.
And so I begged my dad to buy me the costume, right? And it's got like the fake, the muscles. No. There was a plastic Stone Cold mask that came with it, but there was one at Spencer's Gifts that was like a vinyl mask that was like, it was really expensive, and I was like, I kept asking my dad, I was like, can you give me like the vinyl mask, like the realistic looking one? And he's like, no, never did. But I didn't wear the mask when I went out trick or treating, because my brother wore the mask that same day, and I thought it like smelled like shit after my brother wore it.
I'm guessing the costume's all that matters. So.
As long as you got the bod, the Stone Cold bod. I was cracking open beers too.
I actually have his beer can at home.
You do?
Yeah. When I went to rings, my dad surprised me with ringside seats when I was a kid.
Right.
When I was like 15. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like awesome. And he threw, like he cracks the beers open, throws them, and it happened to land right by my feet. So I saved it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you think that was like one of the pinnacle moments for you? Is like saving Stone Cold's beer can? And
I definitely thought it was awesome. I mean, I can't like sell it or anything because who's going to believe it was actually his beer can?
Of course.
But still, like, I'm definitely keeping it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would believe you. I mean,
but like when I was a kid, he was my favorite. Like,
did you ever show it to your friends and they were like, "That's not Stone Cold's beer can"?
They believed
that's
it
your dad's beer can.
They actually saw me on TV. Like,
all right.
I was right there, like where they walked down to the ring.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, all your friends that were watching, they were like, "Hey, they were jealous of you," and then they got jealous of the beer can when they came in and saw it.
And I remember, like, I was so upset when I was a kid, and it was the first time Stone Cold turned heel, and I was so upset that I had a figure that was a collector's item. I opened it up and ripped its head off.
Really?
That's how much I thought it was real. Like, I was so obsessed with wrestling when I was a kid.
Wow, that's almost like voodoo, like, right there.
I felt like betrayed.
It
was bad.
I had the toys too, man. The toys were something else back then, though. We had me and my brother got there was like a toy ring, and then it was I don't know. Is it called the Metrodome? What is it called?
Titantron.
The what?
The Titantron.
The Titantron? Is that what it's called?
Or Titantron.
Titantron.
Yeah.
And you would put the figures through, and they had these little codes on their feet that would play their theme song as you put them through. And I was just, as a kid, I was just like mesmerized. I was like, I gotta go out and buy every toy now just so I can hear the theme song, you know?
I remember that. Long time ago.
You had the same thing?
I did.
Oh.
Yeah, the ring, everything. The breakable tables, all that.
Did you have any heroes in comedy growing up?
Well, before I started a year ago, I was into like Fluffy, stuff like that.
Okay.
Gabriel Iglesias.
And as a guy who's promoted his gut so many times, Gabriel Iglesias kind of does the same thing. He's him being a fat guy in silhouette on pretty much.
That's what I do with the wrestling.
Everything.
My stomach.
Yeah. So I think the reason that you got into comedy is you're very much comfortable with yourself the way you are, and I think that's what every great comedian has to do in a sense. It's like, I'm a fat guy, so here I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, that's great. And so Fluffy, is it? What about Fluffy do you like?
Just his jokes. It's just the way he presents himself.
Right.
Got me. He was one of the first comedians I really watched. I mean, besides like Bob Saget.
Bob Saget.
Yeah.
Now, Bob Saget went from being like the wholesome Full House guy on television to being real vulgar in his stand-up. But apparently he was always like that. He just wasn't like that on camera.
Yeah, he said that. He said everyone expects me to be like this wholesome, like all-American dad. Like, no, it's not me.
Right. So, would you think you were influenced by his stand-up at all?
I thought he was definitely funny. The only thing I noticed with his comedy, he apologized after every joke.
Really?
Yeah, like I even said that to my roommate at the time. Like, notice how he apologizes every single joke. He's like, "I'm sorry." Like, I'm like, stop apologizing.
I think though that's very specific to him though, that he feels like he has to apologize because
like he's trying to protect
he's in front of hundreds of people, right? And he knows there's people in the audience that are there to see him just because they saw him on Full House and they expect a completely different guy, which makes his stand-up even more shocking in a way. You know what I mean?
They should do their research, look him up for his comedy before.
But people don't do that. If you're like a 60-year-old woman, right?
Yeah,
but you're interested in going to see, and you go, oh, he's the guy from Full House.
Yeah.
And you're at the casino or wherever he's performing. They say they give away like free tickets or something. I'd like to go see. And then you go in and see. And I was like, oh my Lord.
Probably leave halfway through it.
And I'm sure he's been walked out. It's weird though, because I've seen Dave Coulier do a show, and his stand-up is pretty much the same. He's pretty much the same guy on Full House as he is on stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I ended up giving him a demo of my comedy scene. This is like my first year doing. It's a long story. If you ever listen to my comedy album, you'll hear the whole story.
That's awesome.
Oh man. I wanted to talk about the what we were talking about last night with Mick Foley. He's a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, which I didn't even know that until you told me.
You didn't know that and he was my favorite wrestler when I was a kid. After Stone Cold, I remember I went out as Stone Cold for Halloween. Mm-hmm. The whole mask situation probably. Yeah. I was like, fuck it, I'm not. I'm done with you, Stone Cold. But also, Stone Cold didn't really wrestle at the time. I guess he broke his neck.
Yeah.
And
he left for a while.
Yeah, and he was out when I started watching pro wrestling. Was like right when he was out, so I was like, he was my favorite, but
yeah,
I had to pick somebody new.
Yeah,
and it was Mankind. He was the guy, and I just remember it was on my birthday that the cage match between him,
Undertaker,
and Triple H.
Oh, Triple H
happened, and Triple H beat him, and then like the deal was he had to leave. But I do
remember that actually.
I was like, he's still my favorite. I don't care, even though he lost.
And he came back.
And I don't know. It was a blow to me when I saw him lose, but then he came back as himself as the commissioner, right?
Yeah.
But when I started doing stand-up comedy and saw he was doing stand-up comedy in the same places I was in Connecticut, I was like, wow, he's still kind of like one of my heroes in a way. And there's a bit that he did that I told you the bit last night, but I might as well say it again here on the podcast, where he talks about using the F word in stand-up comedy is a lot like using the chair in wrestling. It's like you can't just use it all the time, otherwise it has no meaning. If you wait till the end and it's this powerful moment, that's when you want to use it, both the F word and the chair. And I think that's there's got to be a lot of truth to that,
Well, I know one wrestler, and he always used the chair. It was like that was his gimmick. I don't know if you remember him, Balls Mahoney.
No,
he was in ECW.
Okay,
he recently passed away, like I think a year ago or a couple of years ago.
Right,
and that was his gimmick. He would come out with a chair every single time that said balls on it.
Right,
and he would use it.
The chair said balls on it.
Yeah.
And would he hit people on the balls with it, or would he just...
No, like, that was the name, Balls Mahoney. And he actually had, like, we were talking about the cuts all over his head, because that's what he did. He was a hardcore wrestler. But he would always use the chair.
I don't know. To me, when you have, like, the cuts all over your head from a razor blade that you could have avoided, does that really make you a hardcore wrestler, or does that make you stupid?
Well, it worked for him, but, I mean, I would never... A lot of my friends do the hardcore. And I'm like barbed wire, all that. I would never do that.
Here's my thing. And I don't think I'll ever be in good enough shape to ever be a pro wrestler. But at the same time, you want a public image.
Yeah.
You're looking for a public image as a pro wrestler. I'd be like, stay away from the face when it comes to the...
Yeah.
Can you make that a rule with the razor blade? Like, we're doing the razor blade, but no razor blade on the face.
That's the thing. The worker has to know where to do it. Like, this guy would just do it on his forehead. That's it. Like, he would have all scars. Like, I've had conversations where it's like, dude, touch my head, and if you, like, just went down it with your finger, it would rip open. Because it was that sensitive.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wait, how did that happen?
Because years of
doing
it. He literally had, like, buildup of skin on his forehead.
And it gets all calloused and it's like leather.
Yeah. He barely has to do anything to bust himself open. You're supposed to do it, like, right here. The top of the forehead, like, right there.
Right. Well, they can't see it on the podcast, but he's pointing to the top of his forehead, which I think is the top of your forehead because you got a shaved head. So,
so like right here.
So right above the brow.
You guys can't see it, but right there. Yep.
Oh man, what do you think? Like one of your what's one of your best moments? Do you think as a pro wrestler?
Best moments. I would say working with Adam Rose.
Okay.
That was fun because I went from watching him on TV every now and then to working with him, and working with Vader since I was one of the last people to work with him.
Okay.
Before he passed.
Now, like, did you guys like hang out after you wrestled, or
in the back?
Yeah. Did you guys talk about anything?
No, not really. Just like how he's been, stuff like that. Like just a lot of thank yous because it was an honor working with him.
Okay. Yeah.
It blows your mind like when it happens.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I think it's very similar in stand-up comedy where it's like you grow up watching all these guys on TV, and then you're in it. You're in it with them. You know what I mean? And I'm sure it's a little different as a pro wrestler because you actually have to get physically involved with these guys. Yeah.
Some of them are really, really scary too. Like there's this guy New Jack who I worked twice, and people are actually scared to wrestle him.
Really?
Because,
why are people scared to wrestle New Jack?
Well, there was an incident with him a while back where he was put in the ring with this guy who wasn't trained, and he punched him in the face, and he stabbed him.
Really?
Like legit stabbed him because he punched him in the face twice. So like since then, people have been like, "Oh, dude!" Like the promoter even said to me, "He's like, dude, New Jack's gonna beat the shit out of you."
Okay.
And
so if you get in the ring and you break the rules of what you're supposed to do in the ring, someone's gonna fuck you up, is what you're telling me. Okay.
Yeah, if you stiff the guy, he'll come back at you.
Have you ever been in a situation like that? Has someone ever like really like tried to break the rules with you, and then you had to fuck them up?
No, they fucked me up. Like there was this time when I first started.
Oh, so you weren't aware of a rule or something?
Well, I was, but see, like with the wrestling, it's hard to like punching.
Okay.
Like throwing a punch, you have to really practice at it to get it right. Like you make a fist, but your fingers, there's like a gap in the middle of your hand. So it's not a real fist, it just looks like it. So all this is there.
Okay.
But
so your fist is open. You hit somebody like open fisted. It's like you're holding I don't know, a hot dog even when the hot dog's not there.
Yeah. And that did not look right. Wouldn't exactly say a hot dog.
Well, I don't know. Like, I just want to give a visual to the audience because they can't see you holding your fist. This is a podcast.
So basically, you throw your hand, turn it, and this got vulgar.
If you hold your dick in your hand,
exactly what it looks like.
And then you take your dick off of your hand. You hold your hand like that.
That's what it looks like.
Unless your dick is really big or really small, then you got to figure out a middle ground.
Yep. And what you do is you swing it at the person's face, but you hit their neck with it.
Okay. All right. So is that how you broke a rule and somebody fucked you up?
Instead of
you hit him closed fist?
Yeah, instead of punching him in the neck, I kind of got his jaw.
Okay.
And that pissed him off.
Right.
And he pushed me in the corner and basically gave me the stone cold stomps.
Really?
And said, I told you not to stiff me. And I wasn't trying to stiff you, dude, but sorry, it happens.
Oh, man. So do you think there's guys in wrestling, they have the bad guy persona, like you had the bad guy persona. And there must be guys that are they play a bad guy on stage and they're like the nicest guys in the world in real life. But I'm sure it's like the opposite of that too. Are there guys that are like the bad guy wrestler on stage, but then they're like they are like an asshole in real life?
There's guys that are good guys,
right?
And they're assholes. Like there's this bar by me. It's really big. It's in Belmar. It's called Bar A, Bar Anticipation.
Right.
And I bumped into, I won't say his name because in case he hears it, but one of the Dudley boys. I bumped into one of them. Okay. And I called him the wrong name. I said his partner's name. Okay. And he got pissed. Like, really pissed. Really? And it was just a total dick to me just because I called him the wrong name. But of course I was drinking. Right. Like, I wasn't paying attention.
And also, like, you're approaching him like you've met him before, too.
Well, I bumped into him. I turned around and he happened to be behind me.
Okay.
And I said his name. Like, hey! He was like, that's my partner. And I was like, whoa. story, dude. And then I saw one of my friends, you know Bam Bam Bigelow? You ever heard of him?
But I'm sure anyone of the wrestling fans will know.
His son works there. He's one of the head bouncers.
Okay.
And I went to him. I was like, "Yeah, dude. Like, have you seen blah blah blah?" Like, I kind of called him the wrong name. And he got pissed. And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. He's an asshole." And I was like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, dude. He's not that nice of a person." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So like a lot of the guys I heard aren't that nice.
It seems like the glamour wears off pretty quickly with pro wrestling.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
You know what I was thinking about is that you are going into comedy from pro wrestling. It's almost like a reverse Andy Kaufman.
Mm-hmm.
Were you a fan of Andy Kaufman?
Yeah. With Jerry Lawler.
And we were just talking about Taxi last night.
Yeah.
You heard me. I haven't done it on the show, so I might as well. I wrote lyrics for the Taxi theme song, and it goes Italians and Jews, Italians and Jews. Yeah, those are the only lyrics because you.
That's where I pointed to myself and my girlfriend. I was like, "Oh, Italian right here," and she's Jewish.
The show could have black people too, their cab drivers too, Italians and Jews. Because that's all there is on the TV show Taxi. I didn't really put two and two together until I was watching it the other day. I was just seeing all the Italian and Jewish names go by, and you're like, there really should be some minorities on the show because they could also be cab drivers.
Yeah.
But Andy Kaufman, he was somebody that, I say you're a reverse Andy Kaufman in the nicest way. Obviously, you've never wrestled any women, have you?
I have.
You have.
They whooped my ass.
Wow.
All right. I gave him a hip toss.
Hold on. We need to get into this. We can get back to Andy Kaufman in a minute. All right. So, what women have you wrestled, and tell me about losing to them? I
actually do not even remember their names. It was so long ago.
Okay.
But it was a mixed tag team match.
Right.
So it was me versus this other guy and a girl on my team and a girl on his team.
Okay.
And I body slammed the shit out of her.
Right.
And I would say to her, like, we talk in the ring. Like, that's the thing. Like, the fans don't notice. Like, you could talk in the ring. Be like, oh, did you catch that game? You know, did you have the guy in the headlock? And what I did was I remember body slamming her, and I'm like, sorry. And I body slammed the shit out of her. And she took it. But then she beat the crap out of me. And
really?
She actually won. She beat me.
Were you like disappointed when you walked away from the ring? Did you feel like any less of a man? Or
no, I kind of played it off, and then when I got in the back, cried a little bit, a minute or two, and then I let it go. Yep.
Oh man, but
never talked to her again after that.
But Andy Kaufman, I hope you don't think it's like that was like my Kaufman-esque moment because he wrestled like women that were not trained wrestlers. He just wrestled random women. So he was on the sitcom Taxi, and he went, and said, "I'm going to take on this persona of a bad guy wrestler." And I think anyone who's either a real big comedy fan or a real big wrestling fan would realize that he's just doing a character.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people didn't realize what he was doing. Like
it's crazy because he was good at what he did. He played that guy to like a T. Like,
and then
bad guy.
Now Lawler was the guy that got into the beef with Andy Kaufman.
He got sick of it. Yeah.
And at times you couldn't tell if he was really hated Andy Kaufman or was it just a part of the act?
Well, that's the thing. It was part of the act, but it was played off so good, people thought it was real.
Right.
Like when Lawler gave him the pile driver, people thought that he actually broke his neck.
But he did actually break his neck because I think he actually ended up getting that pissed with him.
No, that was all work.
Oh, right.
It
you know
was
what?
all work, and his family was at the hospital, and everyone thought it was real.
I'm getting it confused because did you watch the Jim Carrey documentary? Not Man on the Move, but the documentary where he actually broke Jim Carrey's neck.
Yeah. Wait, he broke Jim Carrey's neck?
He was actually pissed with Jim Carrey, like for acting because he. Yeah, did you watch the documentary?
I never saw the documentary. I heard of it.
You got to watch the documentary because it takes it to a new level where Jim Carrey was method acting the entire time. He was acting like Andy Kaufman the entire time he was on the set. So Lawler actually got really pissed with Jim
because
Carrey.
He acted like he broke his neck.
Yes.
Got it.
I don't know. It's a whole clusterfuck.
And they had the thing. What was it? Was it Letterman or something? It was some TV host, and he went on there with the brace and all that. Like if he was making men's with Lawler, then he threw the coffee at Lawler.
All right, now I have to talk to you about this Netflix deal that you have. Can you elaborate on this?
So, I just got done filming a documentary. It's called Underdogs, and it has to do with the wrestling promotion I was with and my stand-up comedy. Okay. And it should be on Netflix. I think hopefully the director told me in like the beginning of next year.
The beginning of next year.
Yeah.
So can you talk about it a little bit more than this, or
sure.
do you?
What would you like to know? Yeah.
I would just like to know how it all happened. Like you got approached at a comedy club, or you got approached at
I was with this promotion.
Okay.
And I actually told the promoter like a week before filming started that I was going to take a break.
Okay.
Because I wanted to concentrate more on my comedy. And I forget who it was. I think one of my friends who was on the roster said, like, dude, you have to, like, stay because this could actually be good for you. And I was like, okay, you know what, fine, I'll stay. And I told the promoter, you know what, I'm gonna stay and I'll, see what happens. And I ended up staying, and the director was like, oh, you do acting? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, you do comedy? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, we're following a few people around to be, like, the main people for the documentary. And you, all the other wrestlers, you do a lot more than that. Okay. So we're going to follow you around. And that's how it started.
So the documentary is mainly about you, right?
Well, it's about the whole promotion, about this indie promotion in Jersey. Okay. And what it's like to be an indie wrestler. I'm just one of the guys, one of like the four guys, main guys that they follow.
Okay, so who are the four main guys in the documentary?
It's I think it's me, this kid James, this guy Clay, and the promoter. I forget who else. Okay. There's more than four actually. But he said that they followed me around the most because of everything I did. Okay. And that's how I got really close with the director.
All right.
With acting and stuff like that. So I actually just got casted for a TV series too.
Really?
Yeah. So we're waiting to film the pilot right now, and there's a few networks that are waiting for it.
All right. Could you talk at all about that?
Yeah.
What's the name of the show?
It's called The Fellas.
The Fellas?
Yeah. It's kind of like I like to describe it as kind of like a Sex and the City, but a guy version.
A guy version of Sex and the City.
Yeah.
I always pictured a guy version of Sex and the City would be about gay guys. It's not about gay guys.
No. Nope. Not at all.
No, because it's in Sex and the City, I feel like it's all single women, but they don't talk like women. They actually talk like gay men. You ever notice that about that show?
No.
I think it's because it's written by gay men, but that's neither here nor there. So your show, The Fellas, which is not about gay guys. Okay?
Nope.
All right, it's about straight guys.
Yeah, just
that
all
are
problems, I guess.
That all have problems. But
yeah,
are you a wrestler on the show?
No,
or?
I'm actually my character's a Hollywood producer. Big shot Hollywood producer.
Okay.
And one of the main characters is looking to become famous, and he comes to me.
Okay.
And I basically become like his mentor, stuff like that. But my character is basically a screw up.
Right.
Like I'm kind of like Ari in Entourage and Bad Santa mixed.
Okay.
Like my life's falling apart.
I never watched Entourage, but Bad Santa I've seen. So you're a real dick on the show.
Basically, like I found out basically I'm a cokehead on the show. I love women, I love fancy cars, and I love the party.
Right, but you're basically the Hollywood producer.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I wrote a pilot recently, and the Hollywood producer on it there's a character like that.
Oh, really?
He's a complete asshole.
But the thing is, my life's falling apart, and this guy comes to me, and I basically become his mentor, but I give him really shitty information.
But I think is your character more like, how can I use this guy?
Not really. I don't think. I mean, Basically, I think I'm trying to bring myself back up.
Right.
But I just love the party life.
You're lost in the excess.
Yeah.
You don't want yourself to become too much like your character, okay? This is why I'm going to give you advice. Advice. Don't move to Florida.
You'd be surprised of how many people that when they asked about my character, like, oh, that's perfect for you. And I'm like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah, that's exactly you. And I'm like, thanks. Okay.
So, and every time somebody says that, well, it's like, I learned something that I didn't like about you just now.
It's like, wow. Okay, so basically you're calling me a coquette and, a whore with women. Okay, cool.
But you seem like you're a one woman kind of guy, right?
Yeah, I've been with this girl for a year.
Your girlfriend down here, and you seem like you're pretty happy together, right?
Yeah.
You got any? Do you have any siblings?
I have 2 sisters, 2 younger sisters.
2 younger sisters. Yeah. How do they feel about your pro wrestling?
I haven't really talked to them. One lives in Cali, and the other one lives in Boston.
Okay.
So I haven't really talked to them. They know I do it. They've never really.
And they know you do comedy as well.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, because I just started a year ago, so I don't really know. I mean, except for Facebook and Instagram.
What about your parents? They still around?
Yeah, my mom has seen one of my comedy shows, or open mics, and my dad hasn't yet.
Okay. What about your wrestling? Did they ever come see you wrestle?
A few times, but now they think it's too dangerous. They say for them to watch. Like they feel like I'm gonna get hurt.
So they're scared for you.
Yeah.
Are they more scared for you in comedy? Are they worried that you're going to say something stupid in it to embarrass the family?
Well, my whole floppy vagina joke, my mom was like, really? Like, you had to say about the whole waxing thing that I do.
I'd rather see you get Vader slammed than talk about a floppy vagina.
Like, she was like, really? You had to say the whole waxing and floppy vagina thing? I'm like, hey.
Oh, man.
I know.
Can you tell your floppy vagina joke on air?
Yeah.
So tell it to the podcasters out there because they're gonna want to know it.
So basically, I say to the crowd, I'm like, yeah, like the flight on the way here.
Okay.
I flew alone because my girlfriend was already here.
Right.
And I like flying. Put me in a window seat, I'm a happy camper. But the thing I get nervous about is who's going to be sitting next to me.
Right.
So I'm sitting there on the plane, and now I was already tired because the day I took off, that night I left my house at 3 a.m. Had to be at the airport at 7. Before leaving my house, I was at the bar till 2.
Okay.
So I wasn't making good decisions. So I'm already tired and exhausted and grumpy. And I'm like, great, like who's going to be sitting next to me? These 2 ugly women end up sitting next to me. So I'm trying to sleep. Of course, I'm eavesdropping.
Okay.
Which I know it's not good, but they were ugly, so that makes it okay. So I'm listening to them, and she's like talking about how she just got a bikini wax. And how the guy who did it was the man of her dreams. And meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, like, will you shut up? Like, anyone who goes that close to you down there is going to be the man of your dreams. Like, you're ugly, bitch. Like, just shut up. And then I started thinking, like, I'm glad I'm not a woman. And I say to the guy, like, oh, anybody in here bikini wax? Or wax down there? And a few people last night actually said they did. And I was like, wow, well, props to you. Because I can never do it. So I say how... if, God forbid, I was a woman, I'd be one of those strong, independent types that's like, fuck the spa. I'm going to do that shit myself. And I'll be sitting there, spread eagle, 1, 2, 3, I rip it up. Next thing you know, my shit's flopping by my feet. I'm waving my arms right now in front of my legs.
Right.
And, I'd be at the club dancing with my girls, it's like this. Next thing you know, someone taps you on the shoulder, like, oh, nice dance moves. Like, thanks, I just waxed yesterday. Or out smoking a cigarette, like, oh, what a lovely, lovely breeze. And you look down, you're like, nope. That's just my hoo-ha lip smacking against my leg. And then in a couple of days, you just have to hope that it just goes right back into place.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the whole joke. That's a dirty joke.
Yeah. And I've had girls say to me, like, it doesn't do that, right? Like, it doesn't flop down by your feet. And I'm like, I know, it's a joke. I know it doesn't do that.
That would be terrible, though, I think, if a vagina was like a pair of balls and kind of just, like, hang there.
Just flopping.
So that's the joke. You said that joke in front of your mother.
I did, and she was like, really? Like, I didn't have to hear that. Like, that's something you did not have to say in front of me about floppy vaginas.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So your father, he must have been proud when you became a pro wrestler, right? Because he took you to take he took you to all those shows when you were young, right?
Oh yeah. My uncle took me to my first show,
right?
And I remember him. But you remember DX?
That name rings a bell. Yes,
yeah, it was Triple H, X Pac,
yes,
all them.
They were all part of the same crew.
Yeah, and they would do the whole suck it thing. And,
yeah.
And my uncle bought me a DX jersey that said 69 on the back of it, and then suck it on the front of it. And I remember him saying, "You think your parents are gonna get mad at me for buying this for you?" And I was like, "Nope." And then of course my parents saw it and were like, "Really? Why would you buy that for him?" So it was vulgar, it's DX. But he was the first one to get me like really into it because he took me to a live show for my first time.
Right. Okay.
And then my dad took me to the one that was ringside and surprised me. That I've only been at 2 shows my whole life. That's it.
Oh, okay. So it was those 2 shows. But I'm sure those 2 shows were epic enough. That story about you bringing home Stone Cold's beer. That's like it's almost like just like a token or a
it's a memorable.
And you still have it, right? Where do you keep it?
I have this crate in the basement that just has all my autographs, stuff like that. Yeah, just have it in there. Getting dust on it.
It's just getting old and dust. So hopefully, like you need to explain to your girlfriend or whoever, I don't know if you live together, and
Nope.
you don't live together.
Nope.
But say you ever get married, like she might end up just like she'll just go, oh, there's an old beer can and throw it out.
No, I have it in a box, just stored away, so it's perfectly safe.
All right, I want to talk a little bit more about your acting and the Netflix documentary. Where did they film you in the Netflix documentary?
It was wherever the pro wrestling shows were taking place.
Right.
And then for the comedy was at Anchor's Bend in Asbury Park.
Okay.
And what's crazy about that is that they got my first ever open mic on film. So it's, I don't know, like...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right. You actually told me this last night.
Yeah.
We were talking, me, you, and Chris Shepard, and so you said that it was your first open mic.
First time ever
and
doing
you were nervous as hell.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be available to the whole world. Yeah. Your first open mic,
which could be good because if I suck, I could always be labeled as the worst comic ever, and do a thing.
That probably won't happen. I don't think you'll be ever labeled as the worst comic ever. But the people might just go like, listen. Either way, it's a good thing. Netflix exposure, stand-up comedy. You're gonna get booked just based on the fact that you were doing stand-up comedy on Netflix.
I mean, I don't know how the way I think it went. I think I bombed,
right?
Because I couldn't hear myself. I couldn't hear the crowd. It was just like I couldn't like hear anything.
It was white noise to you.
Yeah, like I couldn't even hear what I was saying. I was so nervous. And then after the director interviewed me. And he's like, oh, how is that compared to wrestling? And I was like, it's totally different.
Right.
Because with wrestling, you're nervous. You have to pee like 10 times before walking out that curtain.
Right.
But then once you walk out that curtain, your music hits, it disappears. Mm-hmm. All the nervousness is gone. With comedy, you're up there for however long, and it's all eyes on you. So the nervousness, it's like you're always thinking like, oh, what am I saying next? What am I saying next? When really, like, I'm starting to learn, like, you can't be like that. You just have to, like, go with it.
I think with wrestling, you're not like looking for the audience. The only time you're like looking for a reaction from the audience is before the actual wrestling, when you're trying to provoke the audience, right?
Well, there's that.
It's easier to provoke an audience than it is to make people laugh in a. But then that's the thing. Stand-up comedy venue, right?
There's a whole storyline with the wrestling, so it's like there's certain parts where you want the crowd to like react to it.
Okay.
And that's what you have to try to work for, too. Like, they have to be up, and then, bring them down, and then bring them up again. And then, like, as they think the bad guy's going to win, like...
It's almost like opera in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're looking for the audience to react.
You're playing off the crowd.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more difficult and a lot more thought that goes into it than people realize because they just watch it on TV and then they go.
Oh, I've had people say, "Oh, it's so easy," and then they would try training, and the first week they quit.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just you have to be like mentally ready for it too, because like just taking a bump and landing on your back, like that's not a normal thing for your body. So it's scary. Some people just landing on your back.
And that's in a sense why you're trying to pursue more of a career in stand-up comedy because
you're acting in the comedy.
You're gonna get your body goes through so much with the wrestling.
Yeah,
I gotta say your shirt has been distracting me this whole time. What's going on? You got the V for Vendetta mask, and you got a skull with the American flag on it, and it says divided.
Yeah. So
what's the deal with this?
It's It says divided. I don't even know what the divided we stand, because basically this isn't. It's anonymous. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Right.
And then the government, because anonymous is kind of like an anti-government group, because it's kind of like they feel like the government's hiding a lot of stuff from us.
Okay.
And they're keeping stuff from us.
Oh, now because now the V for Vendetta mask is like a part of this whole movement, which I didn't realize.
So
have you ever read the book V for Vendetta or?
No, I've seen the movie.
You've seen the movie? Yeah. I don't know. Alan Moore, he's the guy who wrote like all the comic books, like Watchmen. He's even written some great Batman. Are you a big comic book guy?
Back when I was a kid.
When you were a kid. As an adult, that's who you want to get into. Alan Moore, the guy that wrote V for Vendetta. So I didn't realize. I just thought it was like a V for Vendetta T-shirt, but I guess
it says divided we stand, because it's kind of like they're holding stuff from us. So it's like we're kind of divided from them.
All right, you know what? We got like 10 minutes left. You want to elaborate a little bit on that? Like why?
I actually have no clue. I just thought it was cool because I'm kind of like. And it's so weird that you said that because like in the car I'm like I wonder if he's going to ask about my shirt.
I had to ask about your shirt. There's a V. It's just so much going on it. That's
divided we stand. So it's kind of like they're keeping stuff from us and not.
You got some pretty cool tattoos. Can I ask you about your tattoos?
Yeah. So this one on my arm it says blessed.
Okay.
BLESSED. And then when you turn it this way it says curse. CURSED.
Oh man, that's a trip.
Yeah, and
it's like your skin's broken. I like that style.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep. And then this I have. There's souls, and then like the like a angel of death who like is supposed to protect your soul when you die.
Okay.
And then it goes from that to my chest, which I have the Italian Sicilian symbol.
Okay.
Because.
You're Italian. That's why I thought the shirt had something to do with something. Because V for Vendetta takes place in Italy.
In Italy.
And so you're Italian. I just spent the summer in Italy.
Nice.
Have you ever been to Italy?
Nope.
Oh,
I want to go to Europe bad, but it's expensive.
As an Italian, you really need to go to Italy. Just to see everything, man.
Yeah.
You got to go to Rome. You got to go to Venice.
Yeah. It's just expensive.
It is. I mean, you just went to Disney World.
I got him for free, though, because my girlfriend's friend works there.
Nice.
I got lucky with that.
Got him for free. It had nothing to do with your
my comedy.
It had nothing to do with your comedy or Netflix deal. It's just like
people don't really know me.
Pete, your girlfriend's the one getting all
basically
all the deals. You told me though that Disney World before when you were coming in that Disney World has changed since you were a kid.
It actually like made me sad. Like I used to be like a giant kid when I went there.
Yeah.
But then again, last time I was there, I was a kid. So
right.
I can't really say that. But when I got there, it's just like the rides and all that, like Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion, just seemed like different, like just like any other ride.
Well, I don't know. It's like the Pirates of the Caribbean was a ride before it was a movie.
Yeah,
and then they changed it. They make it a movie, and then the ride is just a commercial for the fucking movie.
They changed the whole thing and made it to have to do with the movie.
Yeah,
and it's like really,
it's the same thing with the Haunted Mansion. It's the same thing. It's almost like everything in Disney World. Yeah. Every ride. That didn't have anything to do with the movies has become a movie in itself, and it's just like It's all about just like advertising now.
Yeah,
And it's really kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it sucks. So my girlfriend asked, she's like, "Oh, did you have fun?" I was like, "Yeah, it was fun." Mm-hmm. It sucked.
What was the most disappointing part about it?
Just the magic was gone.
Guys,
magic was
the
gone.
magic is gone. A grown man who has been Vader slammed by Van Vader is still looking for that Disney World magic, but it's not there.
It's like I was expecting Tinkerbell to fly at the castle. It didn't happen. Damn it.
Oh man. Well, you know what? Can you just repeat the name of your Netflix show,
called,
just so people know? Anything else you want to promote?
It's called Underdogs.
Okay.
And it will be on Netflix. Can't wait. And then the TV series, it's called The Fellas, but right now we're just waiting. The director's very, very passionate, so we're waiting. He's waiting for like a bigger budget so we can film a lot more.
Okay, so the Underdogs and the Fellas. The Underdogs. Do we have a date for Netflix yet, or
not yet? The director right now told me there's a couple other documentaries that are going to be out there on Netflix first that they're releasing. One of them's called Move It. Okay. And it's about the guy who sings "I Like to Move It, Move It."
Right.
Who's actually the director's cousin.
Really?
Yeah, and it's about him. And then there's another one about college debt that's coming out too. And then it's going to be Underdogs. Okay,
so we got with this big documentary season coming up on Netflix. But check out this one about indie wrestlers that Mike Mazza is going to be in. Also check out his stand-up comedy. Also check out The Fellas when that if that gets greenlit. All right, thank you so much for being on the show. 1000 Comics Podcast. Italians and Jews. 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 This show could have black people too. But it's just about Italians and Jews. Minorities can be cab drivers too. But this show's about Italians and Jews. Italians and Jews. James L. Brooks made a show about yellow people too. But this show is about Italians and Jews. Italians and Jews.